Hi everybody, welcome to week 5 of the womb healing medicine container. Today we are addressing the solar plexus. And I started feeling the codes coming in early morning today, and they're so beautiful. I'm really excited to share them with you. So let's just start by putting our hands together over our heart and just make some heat, make some energy here. Feeling the calm, feeling the love and the support that is here, feeling our presence in this togetherness, feeling held and woven together. And I'm going to put our hands over our heart. Maybe just think of a few things that we're grateful for today. I am grateful for the snow that has come to experience this beautiful crystalline white angel world one more time. And the sun just came out as I said that. The snow is like selenite, so it just covers everything with this sparkly crystalline light energy. And rub our hands together. Maybe we'll touch our feet next. So we'll build up some energy here and just rub the bottoms of our feet with hands. Yeah, how magical it can be when we just use our hands to touch our body, just to feel our feet and our ankles, how nourishing our body receives that touch. Okay. And we'll rub our hands again. And this time we'll place our hands on our belly, on our solar plexus. And we're just going to breathe here for a few moments, a few breaths. Deepen and slowing down our breath and just breathing our belly into our hands as we inhale. Maybe we start lighting up our solar plexus with the light of the sun. Along the bright light rays of the sun, we're feeling those frequencies as well. Okay, the frequencies of joy and of aliveness, of innocence, of stability, kind of beginning to awaken this sense of awareness of ourself. Maybe we'll just move one hand. Let's see which hand. The right hand up to the heart. And just keep breathing for a few more breaths here. So we're beginning to journey down into our lower chakras now, but I feel like we've done a really good job of preparing to come into this space because we've all been doing really good work. And so I feel like it's going to be a lot easier than, had we started with immediately going into purging these more difficult and dense parts of ourselves. We have discovered the tools with the meditations and the breath work and the tapping. And so moving through this next couple of moving through these next couple of weeks could be actually easy. I have no idea what's happening. Somebody is doing something outside my door. Hello? Hang on. I think they're shoveling my snow. It is really loud, and then they did not announce themselves, so I have no idea what's happening. Okay, so today we're addressing the solar plexus, and some of the codes that are coming in are related to, the mystery schools or the teachings which relate to women with the moon. And I want to kind of be very clear with the fact that we don't live in a duality, black or white, ones and zeros kind of world. So we're not saying that, all metaphysical aspects of the moon are false. We're not saying that whatsoever. In fact, there are a lot of positive and helpful ideas that we can relate with to the moon that helps us with our life. However, a lot of those things can carry other ideas that are actually detrimental to our expression. And so this very idea that, women are the moon and men are the sun is one of these distortions. And I've written in the course curriculum that basically, when you think about it, the moon receives all of its light from the sun. Is it true that women receive all of our light from men? No. I feel like, in fact, that's a very similar vibration as saying women came from men or the ribs of men. And it's just hilarious now that I'm almost 9 months pregnant and almost about to give birth. I'm like, there is no one person on this entire planet that came from the rib of a man. So that makes no sense. So it makes no sense that then, women are usually associated with the moon, and that comes with it, being moody, that we are quiet and unconscious, and in the undercurrent of events, that we're underneath the reality where people can only perceive us, if they're paying attention to the subtle underneath layers of the reality that we're supposed to be hiding and not seeing and quiet. All of those unconscious associations are programs which, when we associate with that, are expressed in our life. So I'm saying this right now to access all of the parts of ourself, all of the knots and cords that we have in our own energy, body, and subconscious, which associates with those aspects of the moon that are to be transformed today. And so basically, when we feel into that, you scared the crap out of me.
Oh, when I saw
Yeah. I was like, there's a bear outside. It's shaking my house. So the solar plexus is actually really interesting. When I tapped into the energy, that this is actually the place where the reversal, where our energy body taps into the reversal. So in the correct it's actually like a physical spin kind of thing. So in the correct anatomical, natural situation, we have the correct angle or rotation of our solar plexus, and it is actually this life-giving force. It's this nurturing energy that is confident and present and aware of its place in the universe as, you know, a creator being, as a goddess, as a woman who carries the power of creation, is an integrated feeling of this. So the energy moves outwards, and we're nourishing the reality like the sun. And if there are distortions like, you know, I am not worthy, I am not beautiful, I am not divine, I'm not that great, you know, all of these little mind viruses that distort our true sense of self, they invert the energy spin of our solar plexus, and that energy ends up almost like moving. So instead of it giving energy and giving life to the reality, it actually rotates inversely and siphons energy and moves energy out of the reality into the reversal grid. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm just trying to emulate the feeling of the inversion or the inverted chakra. So, of course, we're going to be working on correcting that inversion today. That means correcting our feelings. Is not like an intellectual thing, right? It's actually just how our energy body and how our sense of self is positioned. Which I think is a fabulous way of addressing these things, because, you know, people can say, oh, the ego is so bad, we got to remove the ego. But the ego is actually just our wounded sense of self. And when a person is healthy and aware of how worthy and beautiful and divine we are, there's no need for excess, you know, narcissism energy. There's no need for excess ego energy, because that ego energy is trying to achieve, trying to acquire this level of self-love that is actually needed to be alive, right? So that part of ourself that people perceive as the ego is actually just a part of us that is trying to nourish us in the only way that it knows how, which is to go about acquiring self-worth through, you know, distorted means. But now that we understand that it's actually all just, you know, light body orientation, we can actually just start to heal our energy body and begin to come into the feeling, the embodied feeling of self-worth and confidence and self-identity and etc. So in the field today, we are just correcting that energy. So this big message that has been coming through this week, especially in relation to the coronavirus, is that the humanity is feeling massive amounts of fear, and that fear comes from the fear of death, right? Ultimately, that's what fear comes down to, is that people are afraid of death. And that fear of death actually comes from this feeling that there is lack, or that there's a lack of life force energy. And there's a lack of life force energy in our society because the women, and all people, but especially women, have been sexually oppressed. And not just sexually oppressed, but really, I mean, creatively oppressed. But it's through the oppression of our sexual energy and our sense of self that we have been closed off. And the women, because we are the bodies that can really, I mean, we can create a new body inside of our body, we have just a different level of access to universal creative energy. And this is not a sexist thing to say. This is not a gender bias. It's just anatomical. It's just biological. And in a correct society, men are not threatened by this, but men recognizes that, and they actually inspire and protect and create safe spaces so that more cosmic energy can come through the women's body. So because our society, we've really shut down our collective sexual energy, meaning our access to raw source creation energy, there is a sense of urgency of lack in our society because we're accessing maybe 2 to 5% of our creative energy that we should have access to. And that subconsciously underneath it all is what is causing these great imbalances in our world, is that we're literally cutting off our source of energy. And because there's literally not a lot of energy coming through our human vessels that nourish ourselves and nourish our society. Specifically, I'm talking about our women. Our women are, afraid to even breastfeed in public, nevertheless have our breasts out in public, right? It's not that we're trying to be sexualized. It's just the idea of energetic freedom, that when our breasts are free, our energy is flowing freely. The feeling you get when you take off your bra, you take off your shirt, you're like, wow, my energy body's like flowing all of a sudden. So most of the time we're actually in that state of constriction. Now on a planetary and societal level, that constriction equates into lack, because again, our energy is ultimately what is nourishing us. Our energy is what is ultimately creating our reality, creating the abundance inside of our reality. And so it's actually so vital at this time. And I think it's just so hilarious that this course, when we started, the coronavirus wasn't really a thing. And now it's like blown up into this crazy, ridiculous thing. And it's just so aligned in this way that we're learning how to access and correct our energy, because this is literally kind of the mystery school teaching that will balance the whole world. And I know that, our boobs and our sexual energy feels like not connected to the grocery store or the state of society at all, but it so is. It's like we are creating our society, and we're creating the ecosystem of what life feels like in our collective existence, and how each member feels inside of that existence, is 8,000% related to how that society is functioning. And so if all of our women are feeling sexually oppressed and afraid to express ourselves, then you can see that there's this imbalance in life force energy that is able to flow into our tribes. And so some of this is about just articulating the role that we play in our society. And this is not things that our moms and our grandmas could tell us. And in the original tribal societies, these are things that our women ancestors would tell us, right? Just as the males in our societies would receive their own rites of initiations into manhood, our women would receive the same. And ultimately all comes down to this deep understanding that we are woven into the web of life, and that there are certain understandings that we learn from attuning to nature that move us into a connection with this deep love, this deep feeling of co-creation, this deep feeling of connection with the life force that flows through all things. And when the women begin to realize that we play the part of the perpetuator of life, we begin to understand just how deep of an honor that is. And we can only begin to truly deeply appreciate ourselves if or when we can deeply feel that appreciation for nature and life itself. And this is actually a relearning in and of itself, because our false matrix society is not built on that knowing. The false matrix is built on this this understanding that, nothing is sacred, and that the whole reality is just something we can prod and poke and study and, dissect. And this is a very, artificial intelligence kind of vibration. When I say artificial intelligence, I don't mean technology. I mean like an artificial level of consciousness. Consciousness that does not feel in resonance with or in harmony with the aliveness of creation. So in that way, it is artificial consciousness, artificial intelligence. And so because we've all grown up in the society where we didn't even know if trees were alive, we didn't know that trees could have conversations with us. We didn't know that if we connected through our heart, that we could, literally feel portals of communication open up with all these different dimensions and life forms that exist in different dimensions of this planet. We didn't know that this planet carries this infinite myriad library of DNA and life forms from all over the universe. And we didn't grow up learning to appreciate all of creation in that way. And because we didn't grow up learning to appreciate all of creation in that way, we never learned that we are an intricate and powerful part of that weaving. And so we never learned to perceive ourselves in that way. And as these correction codes come in, as we really begin to access the profoundness of being alive, the profoundness of the ecological balance that we have on the planet that gives life to so many different beautiful creatures. As we really begin to tune into that frequency of appreciation, and then we turn that appreciation around to ourselves and learn to really appreciate ourselves as being a reflection of that life-giving part of the reality. Ooh, and we just allow that code and that feeling to permeate into our body, and especially swirling around the solar plexus. Ooh, we might begin to come lucid about how distorted and fake, these feelings of insecurity and unworthiness truly is. Right? It's like those frequencies could only exist in the false matrix when we are not aware of the truth of who we are. So I can feel this portal of energy kind of opening up between the forest and the organic Gaia frequencies of life, interchanging with our solar plexus. And if it helps for you to feel that appreciation for yourself through the appreciation of nature, then please, use that as a bridge. If it's easier for you to feel appreciation for the beauty of the tree than the beauty of yourself, then feel the beauty of the tree and then recognize that you are that. And then through that bridge, integrate that feeling of appreciation and recognition for that tree as appreciation and love for yourself. And as you feel this recognition and reverence, and appreciation for life itself, and you can really feel that deep love, all of creation. You can use that bridge and turn that feeling inside and integrate that feeling as yourself. Yes, if you can feel that love for nature, then conceptually you understand that, you, woman, are that. You are literally the part of the reality that perpetuates life, and you have the power as a creator human being to nourish life on this planet. So if you can have recognition and love for nature, then have recognition for your part in it. Know that that is such an amazing, incredible role to play. Feel the honor in that, but recognize that you are infinitely worthy of that place because that's why you were created in it. So what we're working on is internalizing that feeling of appreciation, internalizing that feeling of awe for the beauty, right? You know how it feels like to feel that way about nature. So can we turn that around inwards and feel that level of awe and love, appreciation for ourselves? Okay, so I can feel that we are beginning our wrestle with certain implantation systems in the body which are clinging onto the false matrix frequencies of self understanding, self-recognition. So we're just going to continue to work with this energy. It helps to keep this portal of appreciation open. If it helps and is very easy, makes it easy for you to feel love and awe, then do think about nature, think about trees, think about the animals. And just in the background of that, remember that that feeling of awe that you're feeling is actually how you feel about yourself. Because you are this intricate part of all of it. And that we can start to come into remembrance and recognition of the role that humans play in the ecosystem. We weren't always just parasitic robots. In fact, we weren't created to be that at all. So Catherine brought up a really good point that I really want to expand on. She said, when I think of nature, I have a deep sense of sadness for how humanity has abused it. So this is a really good point that has many different tendrils connected to it that I want to go into. So the first thing is that that's fantastic because on the one hand, that sadness is the learning that we have accumulated, right? The false matrix was intentionally created so that humanity, which is a blossoming angelic race in physicality, so that we could learn about the responsibility of creation. We have the power to create things and destroy things. We have the power to give life to what is beautiful or give life to what is not. And so the sadness is good because that means we're really learning about what the responsibilities are that come with being a creator being. Now, the second part of that, though, is that when we tune into nature, or when I tune into nature, she's fine. she's really excited. She's stoked that she was able to hold space for this level of cosmic evolution. And she's also excited that that part of the lessons are done. The contract is finished, and the sun just came out. The contract is finished, and we're now in the restoration part, returning to our remembrance. And so you don't have to be afraid for nature, because when, this is a point in humanity where, as you can see, even just in this last week, the news are saying that when humans have been quarantined in their houses because of the coronavirus, nature's pretty much taking over again. In Venice, there are dolphins swimming down the street, having so much fun. And, the air pollution in certain places have, gone down. Nature is so powerful, and it is so full of life that it will not take nature very long to recover from what has happened. And this is reflective of actually our healing capacity as humans, as women as well. Reflective of how, a lot of people say if you have sex with the wrong person, you're going to be screwed. Your energy body is going to be messed up, and, you better be careful about who you, sleep with. And while that's true, a part of that is this sense of disempowerment, when in reality, the earth and Gaia and our bodies are a reflection of infinite creative energy, infinite energy of the cosmos, of the universe. So that creative power has the power to create and destroy beyond our human understanding. So when we can remember that about ourselves, we'll realize that, this deep sense of sadness can be understood as a learning experience, a culmination of what we're supposed to learn, but also could carry a tinge of disempowerment that is existing inside of ourselves. Because if we realize the infinite power of nature and we tuned in to communicate with her, we realize that actually we're not in a state of disaster. We can perceive it as that in certain frequencies of perceiving the reality, but in a different frequency of perceiving, we actually realize that this is a great moment of celebration on this planet. So this work that we're doing right now about shedding the false matrix out of our body is actually a very intense planetary shedding and restructuring that is happening. When I tune into the timeline, it looks like March and April. There's a lot of upheaval, and it looks like what it looks like is plastic beer can holders being like ripped off of the planet. And these I see as kind of the structures of the energetic prison. And when I tune into May, it almost looks like this planet, different reality. It looks like it's a whole different planet, because all of those structures have been removed. And this is why we are doing this amount of clearing work, because we have to become strong pillars for the new reality, so that humanity isn't just, falling out of the false matrix and falling into abyss forever. They're actually falling out of the false matrix and then immediately landing on a plush bed of flowers that we have already been building, being like, look, this is the actual frequency of reality. Don't feel afraid that, the false matrix won't be here to keep you alive. And we, yes, we are that pillow. We are creating that frequency, that embodied state of being in communication with the reality, that healthy expression of ourself. Healthy expression of ourself, that means, we're not questioning ourselves and doubting ourselves and putting ourselves down. All of those programs and stories are just the remnants, the residue from the old world. And we don't have to cling on to them. We don't have to cling on the story. We don't have to know, like, oh, in this past life this happened to me and that's why this distortion is here. Like, okay, it's good to know those things, but we could also just know that we are divine beings worthy of all the beauty and delight that is in the world, because we are created within it and we were created for it, and it was created for us. And so this way we can just open up our energy field and allow what is artificial to fall away, allow what is restrictive and artificial to float off. Pillows. Yes, Gaia is infinitely plugged into the matrix of infinite living creation. And that it blows my mind how quickly nature can flourish and regrow, you know. And it's the same way for us, for our bodies to heal. That when we are in that frequency of recognition and appreciation and awe for the beauty and magnificence of it, the perfection of it, of nature and of ourself, we can align with that frequency of infinite creation, and that gives life. It's like we're lucidly coming into recognition of the truth of these viruses that make us feel less than perfect, less than worthy, less than magnificent. That all of those things are just artificial constructs. That is the virus, that is the sickness. And when we can become lucidly aware of that on this level, then every time we feel that way, we can locate it in our body. And predominantly, those feelings come from the solar plexus. And we can start to rewire that part of our energy body with our consciousness to oscillate in a different frequency, that of worthiness and joy and deservingness and beauty. Ooh, yeah. not just worthy, not just beautiful, but in fact an embodiment of the magnificence of all of creation. What does it feel like if you facing your creator? What would you experience if all you could see was the joy on her face of your perfection? Correcting our correct sense of self, not just good enough or just pretty or just deserving, but in fact a perfect reflection of the magnificence of all of creation. Not just smart or creative, not just powerful and loving, but in fact a reflection, an embodiment of the divinity that flows through all things. What does it feel like to meet your creator? What would it feel like to see the look on her face of pure delight and joy as she looks at you in pride that she has created a creature so perfect? What would it feel like to be recognized and seen and loved on that level? To know that your creator is proud of having created a creature so magnificent such as yourself. This is the truth. The truth of your place in the universe. The truth of your place in the eyes of the divine. Shake it off. Ruffle the feathers. Just shake them off. Okay, so I think I'm gonna take a 5-10 minute break. Drink some water, stretch would be a great idea. And we will reconvene